What is going on? What is going on? What is going on, party people? It is your boy, Coach D Brown, former big leaguer, former first round pick with the Kansas City Royals. And man, we took it up to the Northeast yesterday. You know, we took it back almost close to my old stomping grounds, but we had to go back down to the dirty South over here, man. We had to take it back to the SEC country over here. And man, we going big places, man. We doing big things over here. We got the big dogs in the house. All right, the Georgia Bulldogs is in the house. We have head coach Scott Stricklin of the University of Georgia Bulldogs over there, SEC country, baby. We doing the big things over here, Coach. Man, I appreciate you coming on. It's such a blessing, man, to have you on here. And I always have my guests when they come on. All right, we gotta start from the beginning, man. I know you've been doing your thing over there at UGA, man, but tell me where it all started, man. Tell me where you're from, playing career to your coaching career to where you are now.
All right, D, thanks for having me on. I grew up in Athens, Ohio, which a lot of fans, especially SEC fans, recognize that. That is the home of Joe Burrow. So Joe Burrow grew up in Athens, Ohio. He's a little younger than me, but went to the same high school. And so a lot of people are familiar with Athens, Ohio now, but that's where Ohio University is. So went to high school there and decided to leave Athens and go play college baseball at Kent State University, which is a little bit further north and just south of Cleveland, north of Akron. So got to play college baseball up there for 3 years. And Danny Hall was my head coach at Kent State, who's now the head coach, coincidentally enough, at Georgia Tech, our rival. So I played college baseball for him at Kent State and then got drafted by the Minnesota Twins in 1993. And I played 5 years of professional baseball, got kicked around. I was good enough to keep playing, but not good enough to get to the big leagues. I think everybody knows that's played this game, you got to really hit, and I didn't really hit. I could hit, but I couldn't really hit. So I was that defensive catcher that got on the field to make sure prospects like Torrey Hunter and Andrew Jones and guys like that, they had a team to play on in the minor leagues because I was on it. So I was that guy on the roster, and I did that for 5 years, and then just decided that that was enough. And so in 1998, I got a stint in big league spring training with the Tampa Bay Rays. And after that spring training, I realized that, you know what, it's just not going to happen. I'm just not going to get to the big leagues, at least not in the near future. So made the decision I'm going to go into coaching, and then went to Georgia Tech. Danny Hall had moved from Kent State to Georgia Tech, became the volunteer assistant at Georgia Tech, was there for 2 seasons. And then I went to Vanderbilt, became the pitching coach. I was a catcher when I played, but just like all hitters, we all think that we could pitch, and all pitchers think they could hit. So I just became the pitching coach at Vanderbilt for 2 years. And then I went back to Georgia Tech for 3 seasons as the hitting coach and recruiting coordinator there in Atlanta. And then it was time to become a head coach. And my alma mater called and went back up to Kent, Ohio, and became the head coach at Kent State for 9 seasons. And then after that, the Georgia Bulldogs called and ended up in Athens, Georgia. So I started in Athens, Ohio, and I've ended up in Athens, Georgia. We were the Athens Bulldogs in high school. We're the Georgia Bulldogs here. So it was kind of like it was meant to be. And we love it here in Athens. And this is getting ready to start my 8th year and just thrilled with what we've been able to build.
Nah, man, congratulations on that, man. That's big. I didn't know you were with Coach Hall over at Kent State, and I distinctly remember you probably in the upper ranks in the minor leagues at that time, but I remember those Minnesota Twins teams too with Jock and Torrey and those the McCavich and those boys and Fort Myers.
David Ortiz.
Big Poppy, yes. Michael Kadire and
Florida State. In 1997, the Minnesota Twins Florida State League team was the best group of prospects I've ever seen. David Ortiz, Jock Jones, Chad Miller. Just loaded with players. And
Louis Rebus. Remember Louis Rebus? Remember little middle infielder Louis Rebus who could play?
Yes, absolutely. Loaded team. Those guys were so good. And they were a little bit younger than us, but we were a bunch of rejects, double and triple A rejects playing in the Florida State League in St. Pete that summer. We were with the Tampa Bay Rays, and we didn't have a double or triple A team. So
right,
we
to
the A-ball team. So, we were a bunch of old. I was 25, and that was kind of the median age. We were all a bunch of double and triple A guys playing.
Right.
We did win that championship, but guys, we were 4 years older than everybody else in the league. So the Twins were the most talented team. We just had a little bit more experience on them.
Yeah, it's funny, right? We that same spring, I was an extended.
Yep.
I had just got drafted in '96, and I was an extended, and we used to share the complex with the Twins.
Yep.
We used to drive down from Haines City, come down and share the complex with the Twins. I guess for travel reasons, makes it easier. Red Sox, Rangers, everybody was kind of right there.
Yep.
And so yeah, we used to play against. We play against the extended, but then come in the nighttime and watch the Miracle play. And we used to watch Jock and Torrey and all them. Torrey, I think, was in Dubs by the time I used to watch. I think he was up there probably.
He was up that year. He might even gotten to the big leagues by that time.
I think so. I think so.
He was in AA in '96. I played with Torrey in '93, '94, '95. And then, the interesting thing about Torrey is he was ready to go back to play football because he was the guy who was going to go to Arkansas to be a quarterback. And baseball just really wasn't working out. I mean, you can relate as a young minor leaguer. It's hard. And, those sliders are exploding. And it just hadn't clicked yet. You saw flashes of brilliance, but it just hadn't clicked yet. So he was thinking about going back to Arkansas and being a quarterback. And you know what? He probably would have played in the NFL for 15 years. That's the kind of athlete he was. But it just kind of clicked. And to be honest with you, I think the Twins, the brass, and the guys up in the front office saw that this kid's so good. We just got to give him some confidence. And he got a shot at big league. I think a big league September call up in either '96 or '97. And from what I understood, I don't know with the organization anymore, but from what I was told, they wanted to make sure that Torrey knew, hey, you're important to us, and see your development. We're going to give you a shot at the big leagues, and this is what it's really like. Please don't leave us. And then he just went crazy, and he never went back to the minor leagues. He just figured it out. And, the guy was an unbelievable player and hadn't aged a bit. I mean, I'm still friends with him, and the guy still looks like he's 28 years old and could play, center field for the Twins right now.
You are not lying. I remember stories and stuff. I've Jock and Torrey, they'll tell you, they were my guys, and during that full league and instructs and stuff, especially not the full league, I'm sorry, during the instruction league, I was their taxi. You know what I mean? I was up and down the street, and Torrey, we were with the Angels a while back, and he was telling Social that deal. He's like, yo, he's my little brother, man. He used to drive me and Jock up and down 41 up there, picking up, they all wanted tacos from here and Olive Garden salad from here. You know what I'm saying? Like I was a taxi man, and Torrey, he's 10 years later, 90 million later. Torrey, remember that? I was like, you remember that? He's like, yeah, of course, I remember that. So, and I remember when they were struggling, they didn't know what to do with him. And at that time, I personally thought Jock. You know what I'm saying? I was like, man, Jock. At that time when '97 year when I saw them both, I was like, man, Jock is unbelievable. You know what I'm saying? Like Jock is, that guy. And he ended up still having a great career, but it's just crazy. Anyway, then we talk Twin Pro game all the time, man. But man, let's get to this Georgia, man, SEC baseball, man. So, with COVID going on and the recruiting being on hold, what have you been doing with your time when it comes to the recruiting process, man? You guys can't get out there to see the games, anything like that. What have you been doing with your time, Coach?
Well, obviously a lot of home time. Been home just about every single day, and we'll watch some video that there's games going on, and these summer leagues and these summer teams are playing, especially in the Atlanta metro area. There's games almost every single day, so we can watch some of the live streaming of that, seeing a lot of video, talking to a lot of summer coaches, talking to a lot of high school coaches about their players and getting some background information. And I'm in a unique situation. When we talked off the air, about my son's a 15-year-old, and he's playing in those travel leagues and summer teams. So I get to go watch him play. And, by rule, I'm allowed to go watch my son play. I'm not allowed to watch any other games. And I can tell you a couple weeks ago, I'm in Hoover, Alabama, and I'm watching my son play on field 1. And there's 4 fields. It's a complex. They're all in a circle. And behind me on field 2 was an outstanding team with like 4 or 5 guys that I probably need to watch. And over to my right, there's 3 or 4 players playing on that field. And all I did, I felt like I had a neck brace on. I go, I am not going to watch any other game. I'm not going to get in trouble. because the punishment would be, hey, you have to get off the road. You can't even watch your kid play. So our compliance guy was really strict. Hey, you can go out and watch your son play, but you can't watch anybody else. So I've just been really paranoid when I go out. I don't even turn my head. I don't even watch. When I hear that back crack, I don't even turn my head because I don't want someone to take a picture of me watching the game. So I just watch my kid play, and I've had a chance almost every day for the last month. He's had a game. So at some point I get to be on the field.
Well, at least you're getting some baseball in there, man. And you know, you being traveling 7, 8, 9 months out of the year, you know, I'm sure that you got to cherish these times, you know?
Yeah, no, it's been different. And as soon as it hit, we were actually on our way to play the University of Florida. We were ranked number 2 in the country. Florida was ranked number 1 in the country. And we were on the bus all the way down to Gainesville to have that SEC opening series when we got the phone call to turn around. And so we had to turn the bus around on the highway to go back to Athens. And by the time we got back to Athens, they had canceled the season. So it went from, hey, you're going to Florida but not playing in front of fans, to, hey, we're having a 3-week suspension of play. Just go back home and we'll let you know. And we hadn't even pulled into Foley Field yet when we got the announcement that the season was canceled. So it happened in a hurry. And it was brutal just to be a part of that, to be on that bus with those players. We're ranked number 2 in the country. We've got guys that are pretty high draft picks that have worked so hard to turn our program around. And now all of a sudden we can't play and the season's over. And at the time it felt like it was premature. You know, we felt like, well, why are we making this decision so quickly? At the end of the day, I think it was the right call. I mean, we don't know. I don't think anyone knows what the right call is. And that's what's so frustrating about this. Should we open it up? Should we stay quarantined? Do we wear masks? Do we not wear masks? I mean, it's just, there's so much information going left and right. And it's just been really, really tough. But being able to be at home has been different and been unique for me and my family. And we've enjoyed it as much as we could.
So saying that, man, you know, you're in that heat of SEC, man. You know, I talked to Mizzou head coach the other day. He's a pro guy too, you know that. And you know, you guys have had the experience where some college coaches that been on here have not had that pro experience, you know. So you being SEC guys and pro guys, give me the level. You know, I hear stories about different levels and all of that, but you've been there. You know what I'm saying? So give me the level of competition SEC is compared to, you know, pro level, as far as, you know, what level that you know, knowing that you play.
Well, I mean, obviously the top end guys are, I mean, those are your double, triple A, even big league guys, that your number 1 starters in the SEC. Emerson Hancock was our number 1 starter, went 6th overall. 4 out of the top 6 picks in the Major League Draft this year were SEC players. So those top end guys, I think those guys are triple A big leaguer guys immediately. But you know, when you look at just the overall play, it would probably be the Florida State League, high A baseball. I think the SEC was very comparable to that, but you've got some high-end talent. But the same goes for when you're watching an A-ball team and you look out at Torrey Hunter, he's a lot different than me. He's a whole lot better than me. So you've got high-end talent, you've got some low-end talent, and I'll self-deprecate myself. That's me. But, I mean, it's the same thing. At SEC level, it's the most talented conference in the country. Every single year we have more draft picks than anybody else. We have more guys in the big leagues than anybody else. I think I saw yesterday that the opening day rotations are now out, and I think there are 6 SEC guys that will be opening day pitchers in the big leagues. I mean, it just tells you that there's just so much talent in this league, top to bottom, and all 14 teams are, you know, just really, really talented. So I would say the Florida State League would be a pretty good comparison, but there's certainly some guys that I think can play in the big leagues really quick right out of SEC baseball.
So your coaching is essentially high A level kids, you know, every weekend. I'm sure that Friday night guy, like you said, is that junior is 1 or 2 years away from being knocking on the door in the big leagues, if not sooner. You know, you're in Atlanta area, you know, Athens is what, 45 minutes away or so from Atlanta. You know, you're in a hotbed here. When it comes to recruiting, man, you know, and you're in the SEC. I mean, obviously you got to get these, you know, great kids. Do you feel like an advantage that you're here in Atlanta? Atlanta as a whole, citywide, is great talent, and then you got everybody coming here, you know what I'm saying, playing in the tournaments and stuff. Do you feel like you have somewhat of an advantage, you know, because of that? So when you had the job, it's like, wow, you know, it's a pretty good gig, you know?
Yeah, there's no question about it. I mean, being in the SEC, number one, is what recruits want to hear. They want to play in this league, but pretty much if you're in youth baseball, playing summer baseball, you're going to come through Atlanta at some point. And then when you just take the talent, not only in the Atlanta metro area, but all over the state of Georgia, North Georgia, South Georgia, you name it. There's players all over the state. It's a really, really good state for baseball, and we recruit primarily kids from the state of Georgia. We utilize the in-state tuition. It's expensive to come to Georgia if you don't live in Georgia. So when you look at our roster, approximately 85% of our players are from the state of Georgia. It's not that we don't like out-of-state kids. It's just we can get more bang for our buck in-state with only 11.7 scholarships to use, which, again, we can talk about that all day if you want to. It's a crime that's where we are. But with 11.7 scholarships, we have to make that money go as far as possible. And when you have in-state kids, which we do, then you try to utilize that. So we primarily recruit in-state Georgia kids, and we've had a lot of success with that.
So saying that the, you know, 11.7, you know, high-end brand of baseball, are you, I mean, I'm sure you have gotten into that wave of having to look at 2022s, 2023s, you know what I'm saying, to get these kids and offering these kids, you know, freshmen and sophomore, like, you know, you've been around, you know what I'm saying? You know, from when you played college to Kent State to Georgia Tech, you know, when did that change started happening where they were getting younger and younger, bringing kids in, and how does that affect your recruiting now?
I can remember being the recruiting coordinator at Georgia Tech. I think it was 2000 and maybe 2003, and the 17U and the 18U tournaments had gone through East Cobb, and that's what we watched. That's what we recruited. But there was a 16U World Series going on, and I just decided, you know what, I'm going to go watch this. They're younger kids, but I'm going to go watch. And there was a kid named Zach Putnam from Michigan pitching. I'd never seen him before, never heard of him. He was 16 years old, and he was, you know, 88 to 90 with a changeup and a breaking ball and looked physical. And I just can remember saying, man, that he's a no-brainer. We need to go recruit that guy. And he was going to be a junior. So right now he's a 2022 grad. He was a rising junior, but zero offers. There were no other coaches there. I was the only one there, and that was in 2003. And probably by 2007, 2008, it had just gone full-fledged where, you know, sophomores are getting offered. And now, don't get me started, I mean, it's 9th and 8th graders. We've got 8th graders that have not gone to high school yet, that don't know what class they're taking, let alone whether they're going to school this fall. Heck, we don't even know that yet. But right. They don't know what their high school class schedule is for their freshman year, and they've committed to a college, and that's the way that it's gone. And what coaches are seeing, they're seeing these really talented kids. They're hardworking kids. They're good students. Everything kind of checks out, and we're taking the chance of offering that scholarship. And then you've got to make sure that they keep developing. And when those kids commit, this isn't over. You know, this is just the beginning. You've got to continue to push yourself. You can't take a breath and say, I've made it. And, you know, I've had that speech with so many of my players. You know, when you can take a breath and say you've made it as a baseball player, when you put on your Hall of Fame jacket, put on the Hall of Fame jacket, take a breath, and I'm done. Because you've always, when you get drafted, I got to get to the big leagues. When I get to the big leagues, I got to get to my 6th year. I got to be an all-star. I got to win the Cy Young. There's always something next. So when you put on your Hall of Fame jacket, you can rest. Until that day, you've always got work to do.
I love it. You are so right. You are so right. Now, there's a couple questions coming in. Parents, I'll get to those questions. Let me ask you this. So you offer an 8th grader. So since that last 10 plus years, it sounds so crazy to me. But what are the percentages? I'm just going to say, in you know, just with Georgia, because I'm not going to give a broad. I'm saying just with Georgia, the 8th graders and 9th graders that you have offered, what are the percentages that because I'm sure you got to keep recruiting them, you know what I'm saying, and make sure that they're getting better. What are the percentages that they will, essentially sign that letter of intent when they're a senior? You know what I'm saying? Just because I'm sure things happen, injuries, they're not good no more. That eighth and ninth grader commitment, by the time they're senior, you're having second thoughts. They may be having, tell me.
Well, the other thing that we talk about, girls and car keys, that changes a lot. Our golf coach here at Georgia likes to call them car fumes and perfumes. When the fumes hit, things change. And we know as men looking back when we turn 16,
yes,
life changes pretty quick. So you've got to make sure that those kids are staying committed to what they're doing and they want to be a great baseball player. And I can tell you, this is kind of new for us. The early recruiting, I was completely against it. I wouldn't do it. We were waiting till kids were sophomores and juniors at least to do it. And last summer was the first summer that we went after and started committing kids that were rising freshmen. I hated doing it, but what was happening is we were losing players in our own state because they were getting offered by other schools. And it's just kind of human nature of, well, Georgia didn't offer us. They must not like us. Everybody else is offering us. So what's wrong with Georgia? How come they don't like us? So finally, my two assistant coaches kept poking me, say, Coach, we got to go get these younger kids because we're losing them. So say what the percentages of kids that young make it to school, I don't know yet because this is the first time that we've really had them. But I've seen some numbers around 50% of kids that are committing that early. Things happen, and things happen on both sides. Like you said, injuries happen. Kids develop other interests. You see maybe the talent level that they were the early bloomer and all of a sudden other kids caught up to them. Or maybe they commit to a school and they suddenly realize that, my favorite all-time school is now interested in me. So I think you're going to see it more and more. The earlier kids commit, the more you're going to see decommitments and kids not actually show up at that school they originally committed to. My goal is that all those kids are showing up. That's what I want to make sure. If we're going to do this, I want to make sure that my word is solid. And hey, if you're coming, then you're coming. And it's a handshake deal up to this point. But they'll sign the national letter of intent their senior year in November. And that's my goal, is to get them to that. But we all know things can happen. And, my son is a 2023. He's a rising sophomore. And it's a unique situation, obviously, because, he's got the University of Georgia here that I think that he's going to be good enough to play at. So he's always kind of got, I want to call Georgia fallback by any stretch, but we've always got that in our back pocket. But we're going to wait. We're gonna see. He's talking to some other schools. Hopefully, we can get out and go to camps and get to meet other coaching staffs. I know the other coaching staffs, but he doesn't, and that's a unique perspective I've got. I know these coaches. I've known them for some odd years, and every parent that's watching this, most likely, if their son's getting ready to go through this process or already is, this is the first time they've ever done it. They don't know what's happening. And that's what your listeners and viewers should know, that they aren't unique. Everybody, this is my first time doing this. Well, very rarely do families have two Division I athletes, an older brother that went through it, and then they kind of know what to expect. But 99%, this is their first time through it. So my advice is to take a breath, take it slow. If you're good enough, if the player's good enough, he can go wherever he wants and commit whenever he wants, if he's good enough. And your decision, it's your timeline, not anybody else's. So make the decision when you're ready.
I love what you just said. Speaking upon that, and I talk to guys like yourself. I talk to the mid majors and stuff, and I talk to these parents and kids and stuff. And the word around town is that, listen, if the Georgias or all the SEC schools have not offered you by the time you're a junior, you're not necessarily going to get to the SEC. Is that right by saying that? Or, because you just said if you're the man, which I agree, but if you are the man, you can pretty much pick and choose the school when you want to.
Well, Emerson Hancock is a great example. He's from Cairo, Georgia, which is way down south, almost in Florida, about 30 miles north of Tallahassee. So he's way down there in Georgia, but he grew up a Georgia fan. His brother went to Georgia. His dad actually coached Kirby Smart in high school football. So he's grown up a Georgia fan. He wanted to come to Georgia. He'd come to our camps. He just wasn't quite ready. His freshman year, his sophomore year, it was all there, but he was 83, 84 miles an hour. It just wasn't quite there. And then all of a sudden his junior year, he made a little bit of a jump. And we saw him at the end of his junior year. He finally touched 90 miles an hour. And that's what I hate saying. I hate saying that velocity did it, but you could finally see the arm strength picking up because everything else was pretty good. So Emerson Hancock got his offer to come to Georgia at the end of his junior year, going into his senior year, and he just was the 6th overall pick in the draft. So, Again, I think that's a great example. If you're good enough and you keep working, you might have kids around you. Let's just say you're a freshman and you've got kids on your team that are committed, and you've got kids that you're playing against that are committing to schools, and you've got kids younger than you committing. The natural response is panic. Oh no, I'm behind. These kids are all going these places. What's wrong with me? Well, you know what? Not everybody develops the same. And we've all seen, heck, when we were David Robinson, the center that's in the Hall of Fame for basketball, the guy graduated high school at 6'6", and by the third year in college, he's 7'1". So kids develop a little bit later and at different times. So if it hasn't happened for you yet, keep working. It has a chance to happen for you. The only way it's going to happen is if you work. And we talked about this off the air too. The thing that makes it so difficult with everything in life is you can try and do everything. You can get up early. You can go to bed early. You can eat right. You can work out. You can throw. You can hit. You can do all those things all day, every day, and you don't get results right away. And you don't get your opportunity. So it's really easy just to say, well, I'm doing all that. It's hard work. I'm wasting my time. Well, I promise you, if you don't do those things, you're not going to get the chance. So the only way that you're going to get your opportunity is just put your head down and work, grind it, do what you're supposed to do, work hard, treat people right, do things the way you're supposed to do them. And you know what? If that opportunity comes, you'll be ready. But the hard thing is it's not guaranteed. And we all know it as professional players. We show up every day. We work. And there's a whole bunch of guys that don't get to the big leagues that work really hard. And nothing's guaranteed. But if you don't work at it, it's not going to happen for you.
Oh, that's a great message right there, man. You got me getting little goosebumps going over there, man. But so then, let me get some of these questions that are coming in, Coach. Let me, I don't know, hog up. All right. We got Laquita says, my 15-year-old is excited to attend your showcase in September.
I hope we have. I hope we do.
That's why I'm smiling. That's why I'm smiling. I hope.
Yeah, camps are going to start in September as of right now. The recruiting period, the dead period ends August 31st. As of now, I'm not going to be shocked if it gets pushed back. I mean, just think about what we're going through. Do you bring kids from outside of the state, from outside of wherever, and bring them onto your campus? So I'm not holding my breath. Now, I hope we can see Laquita's son in September. I really do.
Yeah, I know they've been pushing back each month. Seems like every 2 weeks it goes back another month, And so
get down the road just a little bit at a time, and we don't know what's going to happen.
All right. Mark says, is the younger exposure good or bad?
Well, it's tough. I mean, I think getting out and playing is important. I don't like kids specializing really early. Again, I'll use my son as the example. So a lot of the parents that are asking questions, I'm in the same boat. My son had just turned 16 years old. This is the first year. He'll be a sophomore. This is the first year he's not playing all three sports. He's played football, basketball, baseball all the way through. He did that his freshman year in high school too. And when you get to that point, they start overlapping. It gets really, really difficult. And he made the decision that he's not going to play football this fall, and he's not going to play basketball because it goes into baseball. But I think the early exposure of being a one-sport athlete at the age of 10, I think that's, again, what's too young? 10's too young. 13, I mean, I'm getting videos on kids that are 13, 14 years old. I mean, again, a lot of things can happen. But, to me, stay positive. Try to play as much as you can. Let your kid make some decisions. If they love to play football, let them play football. If they love to play basketball, let them play basketball. And then let them choose as they move a little bit forward. As far as the big-time exposure and playing at 13, the Little League World Series kind of breaks my heart every year because you're watching those 12-year-olds cry on national TV. And it's really cool when you win, but, man, when you're on camera crying and throwing breaking ball after breaking ball at 12 years old, I'm not a huge fan of that. It's really cool to watch, but, man, it has some effect on some kids too.
Yeah, they I don't know, man. I've been coaching in that youth space the last few years, man, and just the type of coaching, it sometimes I be wanting to choke some of these dads and these coaches of what they be doing to these kids, man. And a lot of, I think a lot of it is they are passionate about what they're doing, but they are just misinformed about how to prepare, how to treat an arm, how to treat a body in general, and they just dog these kids out, man. It sucks. You know?
Yeah, well, if you want to win, I mean, if you're a coach, we all want to win, and if you're not as informed as you should be, which we all know at the younger age, there's a lot of coaches that aren't, and that's fine. I mean, that's okay. But if you want to win, what are you going to do? You're going to pitch your best guy who just pitched, 8 innings 2 days ago. Well, he's okay. He says he's fine.
Right.
Well, 12-year-old is going to tell you his arm hurts. A 12-year-old wants to win too.
Exactly.
And if I pitch, we're going to win because I'm better than everybody else. But at 12 years old, that arm's not built for that. And I think we've seen a lot of these injuries, the increase of injuries. I think you can go back to when they're 10, 11, 12, 13, and these kids snapping off these breaking balls and throwing way too many pitches. I think it has a lot to do with it. And kids not doing any throwing programs. They're just going out. Heck, your kids, I can remember the first day of spring when the snow would melt in Ohio, and it was time to go out and play catch. That first day, my arm felt awesome. And I'm ready to go. And, I've been shooting baskets for the last 3 months. The next day, I couldn't comb my hair. I mean, so we've got to learn how to develop this arm strength. We got to get on throwing programs. We got to do some long toss stuff. But we just can't allow our kids to throw 100 pitches and throw breaking balls at the age of 11. I think that's crazy.
All right. Words of wisdom right there. Mark also asks, how does Coach Stricklin deal with those young guys that are interested in UGA?
Well, the really young kids, I mean, right now our recruiting coordinators are basically the summer coaches. The coaches that are coaching these kids are the ones that are getting in touch with us. We're not allowed to have direct communication with the player unless it's initiated by the player. And the players and the parents don't know how to get in touch with us. So it's the summer coaches. So that's how we're dealing with the young kids right now, is that the summer coaches are, calling us or sending us text message or sending us videos of, hey, coach, you need to look at this kid. This kid's really good. I just got a video of a 13-year-old today throwing 87 miles an hour from the left side. And, of course, I'm like, oh, my gosh, who is this kid? And so that's how we're dealing with the young kids. The summer coaches are kind of giving us the heads up. Hey, you need to keep an eye on this kid. And then if they're good enough, then we coordinate a phone call. They have to call us, but then those kids, I like the young kids, they're going to call with their parents on the phone too. Because we'll go back to my son. I talk to my son. Yes, no, good. Right. You don't get a lot of information out. So mom and dad being on those first couple phone calls can help kind of get more information out of the kid.
And I know it's tough. It was funny. I had a recruiting coordinator at Rutgers on yesterday, Brendan Monahan. He was talking about how he wants these kids to be more, communicate more, and I was like, show their personality. It goes a long way and easier to say. Right.
Not talking anymore. So, hey, it is amazing when our team, when we go out to dinner, they have to leave their phones on the bus. No phones in the restaurant. And it is incredible how loud it gets at dinner. I mean, like you get the dirty looks from the other people in the restaurant because it's getting too loud. But I kind of laugh to myself because they never talk to each other. And then they realize they turn around, they have to, and it's awesome. They communicate. So it's okay to take phones away. When we go out to dinner and my son's with some of his teammates, I tell, hey, put your phones away. And then next thing you know, they're cracking up and laughing. And so we got to teach these kids how to communicate a little bit better. Don't be afraid to take those phones out of their hands every once in a while.
I love it, man. All right. What up, family? What hitting fundamentals are a must at your level, Coach?
Well, to me, the thing that we look at with a hitter, with a young hitter coming up, is that he doesn't swing and miss very much. And when you're a 16-year-old prospect and you're striking out a ton, you might have a bunch of bat speed and you might hit a ball 500 feet. But if you're striking out a bunch, the pitching's not going to get easier. When you get into the SEC, that Friday night guy is going to be 93 to 96 with an exploding slider. So I think the first thing is contact, consistent, hard contact. When we go to a game and we're watching a hitter, we're seeing how often they square up the ball. Do they chase much? Are they swinging at good pitches? Are they having quality at bat? So I just think if you can either hit or you can't, and I think we all know that. You can either run fast or you can't. You might be able to get a little better, but you're either fast or you're not. And you can either hit or you can't, and you can get a little better. And I was one of those guys that couldn't hit, so I had to really work on hitting the ball the other way and having a two-strike approach and getting a bunt down and doing those little things. So even if you're considered a guy that's not a great hitter, you can be a good hitter by learning the fundamentals, by being able to put the ball in play and having good at bats. But if a dude can hit, it's squaring it up, it's loud, it sounds different, and he's not swinging and missing. So an SEC type hitter, a Division I type hitter is a guy, when you go to the ballpark, you say, wow, whoa, what was that? It's that bat speed that just makes you say, I saw a video of a kid, he's going to Mississippi State, he's a commit. I mean, he hit a ball 500 feet, and it says turn volume up on the video. I turned it on, and it's whack. It sounds different. So you're going to know an SEC hitter when you hear him, let alone when you.
So I want to speak on that a little bit, right? So consistent contact, what's a Georgia? I mean, I get what you're saying, but when a D Brown or a parent with a kid comes to see Georgia play offensively, what are we going to see? Hitting behind a guy, the squaring up balls. We're going to see some boppers. What is a Georgia type of hitter?
Yeah, a little bit of everything. I mean, I like to have, my 1 and 9 guys are the guys that can run and can bunt. We love to push bunt. A couple years ago, I had Tucker Maxwell hitting 9th and Tucker Bradley hitting 1st, and they were a terror to opposing pitchers and defenses because they could drag bunt, they could push bunt. They were both left-handed hitters, so they got out of the box in a hurry, but they both had power. They could hit home runs. So those are my 1 and 9. My bookends are guys that can make things happen. Your 2-hole guys, a guy that can hit backside, that can hit behind the runner, it can move guys. Obviously, 3, 4, 5. You put them there; they're not bunting. I don't put my 3-hole guy there to lay down sack bunts. We don't do that. My 3-hole guy is there to drive in runs. And if my 3-hole guy is a guy that needs to bunt, I probably need to recruit a little bit better. So our 3, 4, 5 guys are going to be driving runners in. But the thing that we like to see out of all of our guys is the ability to have a good at bat, the ability to get in good counts, the ability to barrel the ball up when they get a chance to do it. Because in our league, you might get one good pitch per at bat. And are you ready to go on that pitch? And then when you get 2 strikes, can you battle some pitches off? Can you hit balls the other way? Can you lay off breaking balls in the dirt? So to be honest with you, I try to make my lineup just like you. If you're making your lineup out on paper, what it looks like, you've got your runners top and bottom, you've got your boppers in the middle, and then 6, 7, and 8. Those might be your defensive guys that you need to make sure that they know how to hit and have good approaches.
Love it. All right, I got Mark says, can you talk to me about what a 15-year-old that comes to your showcase needs to be prepared to do, exhibit, and show to the coaches physically and mentally?
I always ask the question of players, and it goes with everything when they're playing, whether they're a showcase, whether they're playing in high school, whether they're playing in summer balls. What do you want people to see? And when you show up to a showcase and you're coming to a camp, you're basically stepping on that campus and you're telling that coaching staff, I want to come here. So if your student comes to our camp, you've got to pay money to come to camp. And you're paying that money to get on campus and say, I want to come here. So what do you want me to see? What do you want our coaching staff to see while you're there for those 2 days? And that's going to tell me a lot. How do you get on and off the field? How do you conduct yourself? What happens when you have a bad at bat? We're all going to have a bad at bat. What happens there? What happens when you make an error? Are you athletic enough to make plays? Do you get down the line when you hit a chopper back to the pitcher? Are you going to run a 4-3 down the line? I'll give you a really good story of a kid that's on our roster right now. He'll be a second-year player, and he did not commit to us until he was a senior in high school. He was a football guy, played a lot of football, and then he made the decision that, you know what, I'm not going to play college football. Even though he had some offers to play college football, I want to play baseball. He came to a camp in November of his senior year, and he came to our prospect camp and had a really good 2 days. He's kind of stood out. He's a good athlete, a good player, played hard, good kid, just everything was checking boxes. But I'll tell you what, the final box, when the camp was over and everybody was gone, me and our other assistant coach, we're on the field picking stuff up, just kind of cleaning camp up, and it was getting close to dark. And I look over, I see somebody moving in our third base dugout, and I look over, and it's this player. And he's in the dugout picking up trash and putting it in. I went, you know what? It's it. I want that kid. Now, again, if your kid comes and picks up trash, he's not guaranteed to be in a roster. You got to be a good player too. But he wasn't completely sold. I loved the way he played and loved the way he acted and everything. But that just, it was kind of like when you're filling up a glass, it overflowed right there. I'm like, all right, that's it. He's on the team, and he's a big part of what we do. And that's the kind of kid we look for. So at the end of the day, what do you want people to see? What do you want coaches to write down on that roster that they have next to your name? Because you control it. The players control what we write down. And do you know, as a scout and as an evaluator, you probably tell your players all the time, hey, I can't make stuff up. I got the stopwatch. I got video. I got my own 2 eyes. I'm writing down that after you struck out, that you threw your bat and dropped it to the umpire. And then when you said something to you, you didn't listen to him. And then you walked out of your position. That goes in the report. So you write your own report. And so that's the question I ask. What do you want people to see? And if you want them to, you know, they want to see an SEC baseball player, well, then show me one.
You know, I love what you said that, because I mean, obviously we want the flamethrower. We want the dude that, I mean, you want the guy that can, you know what I'm saying, bang the ball and square up balls consistently. But eventually, I'm sure at your showcases, as 100 kids, you're going to see 10 to 15 kids that's like, wow, you know what I'm saying? And then from that point on, and you know this from being a pro guy too, it's the little stuff, the picking up the trash stuff that starts separating you know what I'm saying? And I try to tell the players that used to be in my program and the parents and the coach, you know, the kids that I told to in the background, you know, they so caught up in the numbers. And I said, listen, the most little stuff, and I didn't know this until I got playing. It was like the running on and off the field, the throwing, the whipping the ball in between, you know, strikeouts in the inning, or, you know, how you hanging your head when you strike out. And I'm like, the most littlest things is with these people, how they start separating, you know, really good kids. And that sounds like, you know, exactly what happened with this guy that you know, the kid that you said was picking up trash. Yeah,
I mean, there's no question. You're always being evaluated, and that it's good and bad, but you're being evaluated and you're being judged, especially in this game. You're always being evaluated. So what do you want people to see? At the end of the day, what do you want people to see?
I love it. Yep, always. It's preaching. All right. What's your 2-strike approach, Coach?
I want to try to let the ball get a little bit deeper. I can't be pull mode. If I'm in pull mode with 2 strikes, I'm out. And as a former catcher and as a guy that's called a lot of pitches, if I see a guy that's in pull mode with 2 strikes, he's out, because he's swinging at that slider in the dirt. He's going to spin in circles on that good changeup. If you're thinking middle in with 2 strikes, you're in trouble, because again, as a catcher, I'll tell you, 70% of the pitches you're going to see are going to be middle away. So why would I ever think in? The only time I ever think in is if I see a shadow from the catcher, or I get a trash can beat from the dugout. You know, that's the only time I'm ever thinking in, is if I'm tipped off somehow, some way that I know a pitch is coming in. But with 2 strikes, I'm thinking, let it get a little bit deeper. I'm going to hit this fastball and knock over the opposite middle infielder. So if I'm a right-handed hitter, I want to knock over that second baseman. If I'm a left-handed hitter, I want to knock over that shortstop. And that way, that just gives me a little bit extra time to recognize that breaking ball, to recognize that changeup. My open spot where I'm vulnerable is in. So if that guy comes in on my hands with 2 strikes and he throws 95 in there, I got to fight. I got to try to fight it off. I'm probably not going to do much with it, but I got to foul it off. But pitchers don't like to throw inside. Most of them aren't very good at it. The guys that are ultra successful in the big leagues on the mound are guys that can dominate the inside part of the plate. Hitters don't like it. We don't like that ball in there. And if you make a hitter speed up as a pitcher, if he has to respect that inside part of the plate, then if your off speed's worth a darn, that hitter's out. So again, my two-strike approach is I'm thinking let it get a little bit deeper. I'm hitting the ball, trying to knock that opposite middle fielder over with a line drive, and I'm not being defensive. I'm just letting it get a hair deeper and smoke it the opposite way. That way I can see the ball a little bit longer.
I love that approach. Yeah, that's very similar to me. I just think, I have these talks a lot with hitters, and we talk about it even with the Pirates, and I never see the benefit of looking in. For me hitting, have I looked in a couple times? Yeah, when somebody's really, and I had to really get the head out, and it would beat me up, then I had to cheat to do it. But from a consistent, if you are any type, we just had this conversation last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, about looking in middle and fastball, and we're talking over charts and stuff. But I caution, and you're a pro guy. You've been around the game many years, college guy, and that guy that even from the coaching side, sitting on the sideline, you see that guy that's like, okay, he wants that ball in, he's cheating to get to that ball inside, and I was like, show me that guy, and I'll show you a guy that's not a really true, good hitter, just to me personally.
Again, me catching, if I'm calling a pitch and I see him spin and he's spinning and fouling the ball off, if he's a right-handed hitter and he's hooking it down the third base line, if my guy can pitch, this guy's out, because I can throw another one in there again to make him cheat even more and spin. I love doubling up inside fastballs with guys that can pitch, because now it really makes that guy spin, and now all of a sudden you throw that slider and he's out. And that's when you see the rear end go in the other dugout. And as a pitching coach, as a catcher, as a pitcher, you love to see that guy that his rear end goes one way and the back goes the other. That guy's in trouble, because, and guys that sinker sliders, and you may have faced him. Rolando Araujo was a teammate of mine, and Rolando, from every angle, he threw sidearm at 96 miles an hour, and he would make guys do hula hoops because ball coming in, going away. And again, right. If I got a great two-strike approach and that pitcher can really pitch, it's probably still not going to help me. I'm going to be in trouble, and that's why you see dominant pitchers throwing in the mid to upper 90s with exploding sliders and great changeups. It doesn't matter what I do at the plate. If that guy's on, I got to have some luck to be able to get a hit. It's just, that's how hard it is.
That's right. The Larry asks, how important or valuable is it to be able to switch hit?
Well, if you can do it, it's invaluable. There's no question about it. And I'll tell a story. I faced a guy when I was a left-handed hitter, and I faced a guy named Salvi Urso. And Salvi did pitch a little bit into the big leagues. Okay. And Salvi was 15 years old. In Athens, Ohio, I never saw too many left-handed, really good breaking balls. I saw guys throwing 75 with big loopy lollipop breaking balls. So never anything that made me uncomfortable. Now all of a sudden we're playing in the Senior League World Series in Kissimmee, Florida, and I'm facing Salvi Urso, throwing probably 85 at the time with a good breaking ball, and he struck me out 3 times, and I had no chance. And all of a sudden I said, shit, I can't do this. There's no way I'm going to be able to hit a left-handed breaking ball. So I tried for a year. It was too late. You got to start early. You got to start young. My son started when he was 3 years old, and he started really doing it. Batman hit right-handed and Spider-Man hit left-handed. So Superman's a switch hitter. That's how I got him convinced to try to do it. And he switched it all the way up until 3 years ago, and it started bothering his back a little bit, being a left-handed hitter, just the rotation of it. He gets sore all the time. So he's just a right-handed hitter now. But if you got to start early, and then the other message is don't be good or okay at both. Be great at one. So, and the great switch hitter, the Chipper Jones is the guy that comes to mind. He was great at both. And very few people can be great at both, but I think we've all seen guys that try to switch hit and they're just okay at both. Don't be a 220 hitter right and left. I'd rather you be a 280 hitter, just hit right or left. So, try to be great at both, and it's really important to do.
Yeah, I love that. I love that message over there. They another guy too that comes to mind, switch hitting wise. He didn't start into, I mean, obviously he has some form of being able to switch hit, but I played with Beltron. I came up with Beltron, and they made him switch hit his second year of professional baseball. He scuffled a little bit from the left side, but because he started fresh, his mechanics were so much better on the left side. And the rumor was that if he would have strictly stayed on the right side, obviously he probably still would have made the major leagues, but obviously he wouldn't have that impact Hall of Fame type career if he wasn't able to switch over to the left-hand side,
And you see that a lot too with guys that are really good runners, and they get into the minor leagues and they're right-handed hitters, but they can fly. Well, let's just put him on the left side. And, we've got 3 or 4 years here in the minor leagues. We've got 1,500 at-bats. Let's get him. Let's teach him to get on top of it, hit that ground ball to shortstop and run and bunt and make it happen. So there's been guys that can do it. I definitely wasn't that guy. I wasn't athletic enough to be able to do it. But if you can really run, getting to the left side of the plate is advantageous for you.
All right. What advice would you give a parent and child 12 you or older who desire to play at a high level?
Well, I think you ask them, what do you want to do? What's your goal? Ask your 12-year-old, what's your goal? And he's probably going to say, I want to play in the big leagues. I want to play for the Braves. I want to play for the Yankees, or I want to be Aaron Judge. He'll say, I want to be that favorite player. And meanwhile, he's got a Coke in one hand, Cheetos in the other hand, sitting in front of the Fortnite game. Okay, that's great. So how is what you're doing now going to help you get to where you want to be? So Coach Daly, our recruiting coordinator, has a good saying: do your habits match up with your goals? So I think that's what you ask your son. Hey, what do you want to do? I want to play in college baseball. Okay, is that going to be easy or hard? Well, it's going to be hard. Okay, now we know it's going to be hard. So let's have a plan. Are you going to hit today? Are you going to throw today? Are you going to run today? Are you going to eat better today? And just have a plan. When you don't have to be Todd Marinovich when you're 12 years old and just eating nothing but broccoli and work out. You got to have a life and you got to be a kid. But you also have to understand that if I want to get to something, then it's going to be hard to get there. And what are my habits, and are my habits contributing to what my goal is? And I think that's the best thing you can tell a young kid. What do you want to do? Okay, this is what we're going to have to do to get there.
All right, I love that advice, Coach. I'm gonna love it. I'm gonna see this question being answered by you here. All right, I'm gonna see this one.
Approach to hit sliders. Start playing soccer. That's the pick up a soccer ball. It's if you're getting an exploding slider. The thing that makes it so tough, and we watch it on TV, and the games are all now starting to come on. I watched 2 games last night for the first time. It was awesome getting to see games, and you see from the center field camera, it looks. How could you not hit that? Because it's coming right there, and you see it. You see the break, but when you see an exploding slider, it's coming at you, and it disappears before it gets there, and you've got 0.4 seconds or whatever it is to react to it. It's a ridiculous reaction level. So first of all, the best hitters have great eyes. They have great vision. They can recognize spin. They might be able to see a different arm angle. Some pitchers will change their arm angle a little bit. Their fastball's there and their slider's there. Might be able to see that a little bit. But again, if I get 2 strikes on me, and I have the right approach, I should be able to see that late break a little bit better. But even with the best approach, you see guys swinging and missing at sliders in the dirt, because if a guy's throwing 98 miles an hour, you got to gear up. You got to cheat. You got to get ready to go on that pitch. And now all of a sudden the guy's throwing an 89-mile-an-hour slider, and it just goes the opposite direction. The best approach to hit a slider is probably not swing at it until you get too far.
Right. That has made many of ball players, regular people over there when they trying to learn how to hit
That's right.
That damn slider, ain't no approach. It's just, a good slider is gonna get you every time. So don't miss the fastball. Shit.
A cement mixer and it spins every once in a while. It hangs, and really good hitters will pay. So just because you throw doesn't mean you're going to have success. Not all of them slide. Some of them just spin, and when they just spin, really good hitters will hit them a long way.
You ain't lying. You're right. All right. Russ asks, what's better to go to a Power 5 and sit 1 or 2 years, or go to a mid-major and play immediately?
That's a really good question, and I think that comes down to preference. And you've got a lot of kids. I'll use Georgia as an example. They've grown up all their lives Georgia fans, and I'm diehard red and black. My mom, my dad went to Georgia. I grew up. I got Herschel Walker hanging in my room. I mean, I'm a diehard Georgia fan. I want to go there. So I'm going no matter what, and I'm going to work and work and work, and that's okay if that's what they want to do. Very few kids come in as freshmen at any program, to be honest with you, and just explode. We have freshman All-Americans every year, so there are kids that do it. But, coming from where I played at Kent State, I coached at Kent State. Kent State went to the College World Series in 2012, so we had some really good players. We've got 5 guys playing in the big leagues right now from Kent State. So you can go to a mid-major and still play in the big leagues. And you can go to a mid-major and become an All-American. It happens. But the thing is, people want to go to the SEC or the ACC or the Big 12 because they want to play on Friday nights under the lights on TV. And you see those teams more often in Omaha. So the bright lights sometimes can intoxicate you to, I want to go there. But you just have to go there with eyes wide open. If you make the decision that I'm going to go there, especially if you're a walk-on player. If you're a walk-on player at an SEC school, it doesn't mean you're not going to play, because believe me, my favorite players are my walk-ons because those guys contribute. But you got to understand that, I might have to redshirt. I might have to wait a year or two to play. And heck, you could have gone to junior college and gotten 500 at-bats at junior college by that time. Or you could be starting at a smaller school at the same time. So really, it's personal preference. I don't know if it's better or worse. I think everyone's different. I get both sides of it. But I've been on both sides of it. I played at Kent State. I coach at Georgia. But I can tell you, I love those kids that come in and know, hey, I got to work to earn that spot and push and push and push. And we have tons of players that, played in their 3rd and 4th year that were really, really successful players for us that sat on the bench for a couple of years.
All right. Ross, I hope you got your question answered, because he was talking about it as you put that question in there. All right, couple more, coach, and get you out of there. I didn't mean to put that one there. How do you develop a consistent release point? I guess from a pitcher, Yeah,
from a pitcher standpoint, I mean, that's one of the things that I think make people stand out, is to be able to repeat your delivery, to do the same thing every time. And what you need to do with the technology now, I mean, you can do it on your phones, of just take a bullpen from behind and in front and watch the fastball release point and see if it's different from the slider release point. You can overlay things, and now with Rhapsodo and TrackMan and all the things that we can do, you can overlay, and that's what we do to show our pitchers their fastball, their slider, and their changeup. Do they come out of the same slot? Do they come out of the same spot? Or is the fastball here and the slider there and the changeup there? And then you see it at slow motion. So all of a sudden you see 3 different hands. That's what the hitter. So we really work on getting that consistent release point, but it's just work, and you've got to get it, because a lot of times we can see things and we can tell hitters or we can tell pitchers this is what we see, but they can't feel it. So put it on video. So you can say, hey, this is what I see. Now you look at it, and do you see the same thing? And then they go, okay, now I get what you're seeing. And now I'm saying, and then you can make an adjustment. And then it just becomes reps. But I think consistently videoing you throwing different pitches and making sure, and have a reference point maybe behind, if you don't have the ability to overlay, have a black wall or something behind with marks on it, so you can kind of see the different frame of reference of that release point, so they can actually see that, yeah, my slider, my hand's a little bit lower, and my changeup, it's a little bit higher. They all need to come out of the same tunnel. And when you see that, and they do it in Major League Baseball all the time, the 4 pitches all coming together and then the ball separates.
Mm-hmm.
Makes a major league pitcher because he can throw from that same release point.
That's great advice. I like what the black background, especially for those. Yeah, that's good information, Coach. All right. Do kids come to Georgia as a finished product? How much development plays in recruiting?
Well, certainly not the finished product. Still a lot of work to do. And, Emerson Hancock is a great example. I mean, he came in here, he was 6'4", but 185 pounds when he walked onto campus, and he just got drafted 6th overall pick, and he weighed 220. So he gained 35 pounds in 3 years. So, 18 to 22, that's when we're maturing physically. So we're looking to put weight and strength on our players, but still keep their athleticism. So, maybe from a baseball sense, they're pretty refined. A kid that's going to come to Georgia, and I said this a little bit earlier, a kid that's going to play major college baseball or be a guy that pro scouts are going to like, he's going to make you say, wow, at something. And it could be just laying a bunt down and getting down the line in 3.7 seconds, or going first or third on the ball to the outfield, or stealing a base, or making a diving catch, or something's going to make you say, wow. But a Division I baseball player is going to stand out. And usually on a high school baseball field, there's not a whole bunch of them there together. On a high school baseball field, there might be 1 or 2, 3 or 4 if you're lucky, college baseball players, but those guys are going to stand out as the best players. And but they certainly have a long way to go. And we're not going to reach our prime as baseball players until we get 27, 26, 25 years old. So long way to go. But to me, I think the biggest change our kids make, just physically, they get stronger when they come to Georgia and when they go to college.
All right. Do you allow red shirts?
Yeah. Last year, I'm going to have to do this in my head. We had 6 of our 9 starting position players had redshirted at some point.
Wow.
And 2 of them, we redshirted. We didn't think they were quite ready. And I can tell you, in the case, Mason Meadows was our starting catcher for the last couple of years, and we redshirted Mason his freshman year. I didn't think he was quite ready to play. I was an idiot. He should have played. I should have played him. I didn't. And you know what? I was wrong. And he came back he was a freshman All-American his redshirt freshman year. Now that year of development helped him.
Right.
I should have played him. Now we had to
play. Why do you say that? Because he just did so good as a freshman? Why do you say that?
Looking back, I think he was ready to play. I don't know if he would have been our everyday starter, but he could have played certainly as a freshman for sure. And I've told him that. I've told him that to his face. I'm like, I don't know why we redshirted you. And we had other catchers, and we just thought, but he has those intangibles sometimes you don't see until you're around. He's the leader. He's the student council president guy. He's that guy. He's always doing the right stuff. He's got a lot of leadership ability, and then that shows up on the field. And we saw more and more of that as that freshman year went along, and it came out as redshirt freshman. So I think more just leadership skills that he was ready to go. But we've had some kids that got injured. And Connor Tate was a freshman for us 2 years ago. He broke his rib swinging, and that tells you how much bat speed he had. He broke his top rib right here, swinging the bat. That's how much bat speed. I've never seen it before, but just hitting velocity off the machine, broke his top rib. So we had to redshirt him, and he comes back, and he's a big part of our team because he's a year older and he's a year more mature. So 6 out of our 9 starters last year had redshirted at some point.
Wow, that's crazy. All right. A couple more questions, Coach, and I'm going to get you up out of here, man. Robert asks, comment on the level of baseball talent in the state of Georgia.
It's really good. I mean, top to bottom, it is really, really good. And, I put it up there. It's basically this in just about every sport, especially football. It's California, Texas, Florida, Georgia. And Georgia probably ranks 4th just because the population is lower than those other states. But you take the top 50 players from Georgia and the top 50 players from Florida, Texas, California, I think you're right there. There's tons of players in the big leagues from Georgia. Byron Buxton, Clint Frazier, Austin Meadows. I mean, you could just go on. Those are all first-round picks from kids that were right around this area. So, Jeff Francoeur, we'll go back. Jeff, gosh, is dating me. I recruited Jeff when I was at Vanderbilt back in 1999. So I'm dating myself a little bit, but great talent in the state of Georgia from top to bottom, high school level, summer level, and also at the collegiate level.
Yes, it's always been that too. And Coach, so if somebody wants to send film or what's your Twitter, your social, any social media handle, what is how can you is it your recruiting guy, or how can they send some film to you? What's your Twitter handle?
Well, my Twitter handle is @CoachStrick10. So @CoachStrick10 is my Twitter. And I get videos constantly. Mm-hmm. And right now that's the way that we're seeing things. And you can also send it to our emails. They're kind of long emails. They're all on our website. You go to Georgia Baseball to our website. It's godogs.com or georgiadogs.com. And then you can go to the baseball page and see all of our email addresses. But we get dozens of videos every single day from every single form. And when we see videos that we really like, something that jumps out at us, what we normally will do is reach out to either that high school coach or to that summer coach. Because the videos that we're getting, they're probably from kids that we can't talk to yet. Because we can't have any conversations with any kid or parent or grandparent until that kid's a junior, September 1st of his junior year. And that's what parents have to understand. You send an email, hey, coach, please recruit my son, and he's a 9th grader. The only thing we can send back is, hey, here's our camp. Come to our camp. Well, that's the only thing we're allowed to send is camp information. If someone gets my cell phone number and they send me a text and it's a blank number and I don't know who it is, I can't respond to it because that's an NCAA violation. So the best way to go about it is to go through your summer coach or your high school coach. And if your summer coach and high school coach is being honest with you, hey, I really think you can play at Georgia. Let's get some video and send it. Or, you know what? It's really good when your coach says, you know what, I don't think you're quite ready for that level yet. Let's look at maybe a Division II or maybe a junior college. And if that's what your goal is, and we've got some work to do, but involve your high school coach, involve your summer coach, and those guys can help you get that video in the right hands.
All right, I love it. Last question, parents, what do you think about the recruitment of kids in urban cities?
Well, you know what? We've got to get those kids out playing. And that's the biggest thing is, Major League Baseball has done something with the RBI program, getting some more kids active in baseball. We just need kids to get outside and play baseball. And in order to play baseball, you have to have fields to play in. And that's the problem. That's what Major League Baseball is trying to do with the RBI program is let's find some green spaces and let's get some baseball fields and let's get some kids outside playing. Another problem we have with college baseball is the 11.7 scholarships. It's about opportunities. And we've got to do a better job, not only as college sports, but I think Major League Baseball, we're the minor leagues for the big leagues. So that's what I would love.
Especially now, they're getting rid of them lower level teams now,
In the next few years, I would love to see more funding for more scholarships to give more opportunities because the normal scholarship in college baseball is 40%. That's a normal baseball scholarship. If it costs $30,000 to go to a school, now we're going to cost $16,000 to go to college per year. And that's not for everybody. It's tough on everybody. So I think we've got to be more inclusive. We've got to get more opportunities. We've got to have more scholarships. But I'll tell you what, if a kid can play, a kid can play. And you know what? There's some great players out there. It's our job to go find them. And but I'm all for it, man. Let's find great players everywhere.
All right. Okay, last one, Cole. I promise you. How do kids sign early if coaches cannot talk to parents and kids?
That is the great mystery, isn't it? Well, again, the summer coaches and the high school coaches are coordinating phone calls. And those young kids are then calling the coaches. And, I've had a couple already today, and, I'll get a text message, hey, coach, I'm going to call you at 11:30 today. So I know that this kid's going to call me at 11:30. I can't respond to that text, but I know to be on the lookout for that phone call. And then you'll get into FaceTime calls where hey, FaceTime me with your parents. So they call and we can be on a FaceTime call. So we can almost be like this. So it's a little bit face to face. It's awkward. I don't really like it. I'd much rather be sitting down face to face. But we'll do a PowerPoint presentation. We'll do a recruiting on a PowerPoint. And that's what schools have gone to now is we're doing PowerPoint presentations through FaceTime or even Zoom meetings. We've become experts in this medium right now. We're all Zoom experts now. But that's how it's done is the summer coaches and the high school coaches are coordinating phone calls with the college coaches, and they're calling us. And then we say, hey, well, I tell you what, call me next Tuesday, and we'll do a FaceTime call, and we'll do a PowerPoint presentation. And then call me after that, and we'll do another FaceTime call where mom can ask some questions. So that's how it's happening.
Man, I love that, man. All right. So, Coach, man, you hit on all angles, man. Great. Just quickly, I mean, we've gotten into so many subjects. I haven't really gotten to talk about enrollment in and out of state for Georgia. I know you just mentioned it, and I want to, basically talk about that and academic requirements, please.
Okay, in state, the cost of Georgia. If you get on our website, it's uga.edu. You get on the website, it's going to throw out a number, almost $27,000 in state. 6,000 of those dollars are the cost of attendance, and that's a number that we've heard from football players and basketball players getting full scholarships. That's money on top of their scholarship, and it's real cost. It's transportation, it's gas, it's cell phone, it's insurance, things that people need help with. So those have come in the last 3 years. So when you look at that 27,000 number, the hard cost of tuition, fees, room, books, board plan, it's right around $21,000. So the cost to go to Georgia in-state is $21,000. Then you add the cost of attendance, which are the real costs, that goes up to $27,000. Now, in-state, if you're a 3.0 student, you get the Hope Scholarship. And the Hope Scholarship's an academic scholarship that's open to everybody. It's a 3.0 GPA in high school. And if you get a 3.0, you're going to get $241 per credit hour that you take. So if you do the math, if you take 30 hours in your first year in college, you take 15 hours in the fall and 15 hours in the spring, that's 30 times 241. That's about $6,800 that you're getting from Hope Scholarship. So that's going to come right off your tuition bill. So if you get that 40% scholarship that we talked about, that 40% scholarship's coming off that 27,000 number. So you're getting around $11,000, $12,000, and you put the Hope Scholarship on top of that, you're paying very little to go to the University of Georgia. You're basically paying your food plan. Nice. So that's what we try to do in state. Now, the other thing in state, the Zell Miller Scholarship, if you have a 3.7 GPA in your good classes now, this is your core classes, that we don't get it for finger paint and gym classes. They'll get A's in. This is 3.7 in your core classes, your math, your social study, your science, and you get a 26 on your ACT, then you qualify for the Zell Miller Scholarship, and that's full tuition. That's almost $10,000. So that really helps us in state. So now out of state, right now it's about $47,000 to come to Georgia. So think about, again, we talk about 40% being the normal scholarship. Let's just say we give you 50%. You're from Wyoming, and we give you a 50% scholarship. You're paying around $23,000 per year to come to Georgia. That's why we don't have very many out-of-state kids, because it costs so much, not only for the families, but for us. So if we're going to get that kid from out of state, that means we probably have to give him a bigger scholarship to make it cheaper for him. That in-school state is giving him the 40% and whatever they have in state for academics. That's why we're very fortunate to be in Georgia to have such good talent. And that's why when you see a roster, it's 85% Georgia.
All right. The great messages all day today, Coach. I have all my guests come on, man. You gave so many nuggets, man. And, man, it's a pleasure meeting you, man. But I always like for my guests to kind of take us out with a message to end this interview, man. And, it could be about anything. I mean, you've been giving us nuggets all day, but if you could, man, give us a message to, close us on out.
I think it's about the impact that you want to make. at the end of the day, what do you want them to say about you at your funeral? I mean, that's what kind of life did we live? What kind of impact did we have on our family, our children that were around every single day? That I'm fortunate enough to be a coach, and for me, the coolest thing is to get that email, that text, that phone call from the kid I had 10 years ago of, Coach, I get it now. I know why you were hard on me, because I'm hard on my guys. I push them, I challenge them, I have high expectations for them, and I don't apologize for it. And sometimes that means we do this a lot. And I tell them that's okay. I'm going to do this, but I'm not backing down, because I want you to be the best you can be. And I've been 18 years old. You haven't been 48. I know what you're going. As parents, we all kind of laugh because our kids are smarter than us. No, you're not.
Right.
We've been through what you've been through, and we're going to help you. So what impact can I ultimately have on the people around me to help them get better? And you know what? 10 years from now, someone that you impacted, can they email you and say thank you? They might not say thank you right away, but thank you 10 years. To me, those are my favorite ones. I just got one yesterday, and it was, Coach, you're probably not going to want to hear this from me, and I laughed because I hadn't heard from the kid in a while, and he came back and said, Coach, just thanks for everything. I know I was a pain, but thank you. I got a kid now. I'm starting to get it. So that stuff's really rewarding for me.
I already know. I know that had to make you feel good, So, listen, Coach, it's been a pleasure, man. I want to just before we wrap up, I'll be on tomorrow at 4 p.m. You've heard Coach Stricklin talk about, this is your first time. Many of you parents that are going to be listening to this now and in the replay, that this is your first time going through this recruiting process. That's why I started this masterclass. So go ahead and link yourself, sign yourself up to this masterclass where we go deep in depth and talk about this recruiting class and recruiting process, because sometimes you only get one shot at this and you want to make sure you do it right. So you heard Coach say it from his own mouth about you only get maybe one. Hopefully you got a family member in the household that's going through it. So Coach, I appreciate you, brother, man. It's been a pleasure. I got to come out there to the campus. I've never, a friend of mine told me this maybe about a year ago. He's a Mississippi State alum.
Okay.
And football wise, I asked him, I said, what's the best what's the best place to watch an SEC football, And I thought he was going to, because I've been to certain cities and, when the SEC, but he said he thought about it, and he's been an alum for a while, and he travels everywhere Mississippi State goes, and he said Athens. Yep. He said Athens, Georgia. He was like, some with the hills and the game. He said that's just, I said, over all these other, he's like, over all the other SEC schools, man. He said Georgia is the best place to watch, go from a visiting standpoint, to go and the campus life and everything. He's a Mississippi State guy, and he said that about Georgia, man. And I got to come out there one of these days and come check it out.
Welcome, man. Come see us anytime. We'll take care of you.
All right, cool, man. Coach, I appreciate you, brother. Parents, tomorrow I'll be on at 4 p.m. Eastern, keeping his knowledge and his ball rolling. All right. Coach, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for coming on, man. It means a lot to me, man.
Thank you.
All right, Coach. See you later. Parents, tomorrow, 4 p.m.